Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining Deepblocks this afternoon for our weekly webinar. My name is Michael Cavone, your Chief Revenue Officer, and today we are going to be exploring development opportunities for build-to-rent single-family homes. So yes, today we'll be modeling and analyzing build-to-rent development opportunities. We're basically going to use Deepblocks site selection tool to find parcels zoned for single family and for certain lot sizes, and then show you how we can model out and use our Draw Parcel Tool to draw out and kind of map and plan and plot the build-to-rent development opportunities in single family homes for these build-to-rent opportunities. And again, I do appreciate you taking the time to join us this afternoon. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to use the chat and ask me a question. If you have any questions after the webinar, please feel free to reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com. We could always set up one-on-one demos or meetings and just to discuss and walk through the product to see how it caters to your needs and see how we can see if the product is a good fit for you and your company. As I mentioned, we are discussing build-to-rent development opportunities. Right now, 2022 is predicted to be one of the hottest on record for build-to-rent, so it's a great time to show you the capabilities of Deepblocks and how to use the various tools to not only select certain sites based on zoning and lot size and other criteria, but as well apply some map layers and different types of analytical tools and trends to get a good idea and feel the demographics and how a certain area is trending and see if it makes sense for a particular build-to-rent development. So before we get started, we're just going to give a few more minutes to let some others jump in and join. I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to kind of take you through some of the key sections of Deepblocks like I normally like to do each and every week, and then we'll get going and start to look at various site selection for build-to-rent development. Just to note, I'm going to focus my attention for this webinar. We're going to look in Tampa, Florida as one of the markets. We're going to probably jump over to Detroit, Michigan as another market. And if I have some time, maybe Virginia Beach, but Tampa and Detroit are the two markets that I'm going to focus in on today to find and search for sites for build-to-rent development opportunities. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and we're now at deepblocks.com. Just like to always show, these are the cities that we're currently in. We're currently in 100 cities throughout the country, 100 cities with zoning data. We're in 1,000 plus cities with parcel level data. I believe we currently have over 11 million properties or parcels on in our database, or 11 million plus parcels in our database. So our data continues to grow and expand as we continue to scale and reach more and more U.S. cities. Again, we're always looking to work with you to add additional cities that you might be seeking outside of what we already have on our site and what is live. But if there's certain cities in an MSA that you might request, we're always looking to discuss that partnership and add those cities to help your company. Additionally, we have our webinar section, which is a great section where we upload all the previous webinars. And you can always reach out to me as well. I can always send you a link to the most recent webinar. Our tutorial section, a very resourceful area to find 60-second or very short clips to understand certain functionalities and capabilities of the software. We're actually in the process of building out 3 to 4 minute tutorial to kind of really give you a nice high-level overview in the strength of the software and go through a lot of the key functionalities, but again, in a relatively short time. So it'll be a really instrumental tutorial to help you better understand how to use Deepblocks and apply it to your specific needs. And then lastly, we have our pricing. We're currently at $36,000 per year, and that covers all 100 cities. We do also have a local option available, which is $5,400 per city, but everything's we can discuss these various packages. So again, always feel free to reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com. So with that being said, let's get ready, and we're going to jump into our webinar. Again, today we're going to explore how we can do build-to-rent development opportunities, and how we can maximize the use of Deepblocks to find parcels based on specific criteria, so we can develop build-to-rent single-family homes. Additionally, and just always keep in mind the way Deepblocks is structured and what we're bringing to you is that it's one single software solution where we're converging various data sets from one of our key components is zoning data. As I mentioned, we're in 100 cities with zoning data. Additionally, we have market rates and market intelligence, different demographic information. So all these various data sets that we present underlying the software to help not only enhance your search and find the right parcels based on your development criteria, but also to apply map layers and analytical tools to truly understand the marketplace that you're looking to develop. Just to give you a little insight too, we are working on some machine learning models that are data driven, where we're going to be able to compare cities and give you a good idea of development potential based on comparing cities. Additionally, you'll be able to look at land values, construction costs, and other key data sets where you can compare across cities. You can then compare across census tracts and really guide your search. And then you'll use the site selection tool to really find those parcels within that key census tract that we figured through our data, through our machine learning models, and that's using this data to really try to show you where the trends are and where everything is heading, and give you a good understanding of a market. So, and then upon site selection, we then go into our second interface, which is our Explorer interface, and you can do 3D modeling and massings, and you can basically enter in setbacks, assumptions on the income side, cost side, and we can do a 1 year back of the envelope return on cost. So it's a very amazing way of performing feasibility studies, going through thousands of iterations, various iterations, to truly understand the real potential of a parcel upon selecting that parcel. And the main premise behind Deepblocks is, again, we're trying to converge everything here into one centralized location and get you doing things that used to take days, sometimes weeks, into a matter of minutes, and get that strong, high level understanding of a potential for your development play. So with that said, we're currently looking at my dashboard. We're going to jump into the search engine. And as I mentioned, today we're going to be focusing in on Tampa, Florida. So we're going to jump into Tampa. And just a couple pieces of advice I always like to recommend when using Deepblocks. It is a SaaS product. I always we usually advise everyone to use Google Chrome. It does work on most browsers, but Google Chrome we feel is the best to be using when working with Deepblocks. I also like to kind of zoom my screen. I'm on a 24-inch monitor. I like to zoom out to about 80%. And the reason I say that is the more you can capture in your monitor, the larger of a market you can scan. And obviously, the software is very interactive, so you can move your screen north, south, east, or west. And as the parcels appear in your results, you start refining your search. The results will automatically update as you move your screen. But so right now we're in the center of Tampa. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. So just to give you an idea, you can zoom out all the way until the blue outlines disappear, which means the parcels are no longer, as you can see, in your viewport. Now, sometimes I like to do that. I like to zoom out and get a nice macro level if I want to turn on some of our map layers to get a good understanding of a particular city. For instance, this is our buildable area ratio. It kind of shows where pockets of density are and where we're seeing development potential and growth. But for today's example, I kind of want to focus really more in on the site selection capacity and capabilities of Deepblocks to find parcels that I feel meet the development criteria for built to rent where we're going to be doing built to rent development for single family homes. So we're going to zoom back in until those parcels reappear. All right, so now you can see all the blue outline parcels appearing on my screen. And just to give you a good idea and an indication of how many parcels we're looking at and how fast we can go through thousands and thousands of parcels, currently in my viewport, we're looking at roughly 4,500 parcels just in this particular part of Tampa. Again, we can move up to the northern part of Tampa, like Tampa Heights, and you'll see the parcels matching. Now we're up looking at about 7,500 parcels matching, just to give you an overall understanding of the number of parcels. So to kind of drive this search, again, we want to show you how we can find a certain parcel of a certain size and we can do subdivision. And that's, with Deepblocks, you can not only select one parcel all the time, but within a larger parcel, we can actually draw and model out units within that parcel and kind of create a subdivision, and then model out and then bring it to the Explorer interface and go through the feasibility study and understand the financial return of this particular subdivision and based on entering certain assumptions. So I like to not only first show you how we're going to use the site selection capability to find a parcel for certain build-to-rent development opportunities, but then kind of use the Explorer interface to model it out and see those 3D models and kind of get a good feel for the potential of a particular parcel. So one of the first things we're going to start searching for for anything that's zoned for a single family, So now in the city of Tampa, they have various different languages for single family. So you'll see single family detached. So we're going to select anything that's related to single family. We have single family dwelling, and see if there's any others. That way we just make sure we capture our detached dwellings. And this is one thing we're actually working on at Deepblocks. We're going to work on our best to kind of standardize this use of allowed text in every municipality. Their language is different. It is one thing we are literally studying based on our data to try to almost do a reference where one term would apply to all these various terms to kind of simplify it and make it a little bit and streamline that search for you based on use allowed. Again, you can always look up based on zoning districts too if you know what type of zoning you are looking for. So as you can see, we have 6,800 parcels matching that are zoned for these various single family options. But to continue my search, I want to find lot size at least roughly, we'll say 50,000 square feet to maybe 100,000 square feet. All right, so now our search now drops down to 77 parcels. So again, quickly went from over 7,000 just to 77. Always keep in mind with Deepblocks at any time where parcels are matched, you can export out that to a CSV file. You'll get a listing of all those parcels. If it's a handful of parcels up to 7,000 parcels, we export to a CSV file, and within that file, you'll get a 15 columns of important information tied to each parcel from legal address, if you have ownership information, as well as the zoning rules and parameters, some demographic information for that parcel. So a very resourceful file that kind of helps your search. So just to continue on now, we're looking at about 77 parcels. I'm also going to see if I can find some vacant land. So we're going to go to the existing building slider. We're going to turn that on, and we're just going to simply put zeros into each entry point. And now you'll see we're down to 17 parcels. So that's a good start for what we're trying to accomplish. Let's start with that at the moment. And we're going to start to kind of analyze and look at throughout the city of Tampa where I might want to kind of begin my feasibility studies and see where the best potential is for this build to rent development. So again, we have 17 parcels matching all throughout, anything in this teal. Kind of one way to drive your search a bit too, to get a good understanding of the marketplace, is we can turn on some of these map layers. First, we can maybe turn on opportunity zones to see if any of these parcels are in an opportunity zone, which most of these are. So that's a good sign. So we could possibly look at that. We could turn on our people layers and look at different demographic information. For instance, median income. Maybe I'm looking to do some affordable housing, build to rent development play. So again, you'll see this is some lower income areas right here. We got one that's in the 13,875 median income. So again, for me, looking to supply that affordable housing demand, we can maybe look into that particular census tract or area, as well as over here we got a little bit higher income at 29,000, still in that lower income sector. So it's one way of going about it. Additionally, we can also look at some of our market rates to see what the leasing rate is. We do provide $1 per square foot. This is based on an aggregate of listing data, and then we kind of break it down by census tract, and we apply our machine learning to this value to bring you a strong $1 per square foot, and it's a good representation of what we're seeing in the marketplace. It's within about 5 to 10 percentage points of what and again, we're always validating our information as we do releases throughout the month. So just again, a good understanding and a baseline for residential leasing rates at the moment. So we're looking at about $1.51 per square foot. Over here is about $1.80. So just to give you a good little understanding. So I'm going to actually kind of zoom in on this one particular parcel down below here and see if this makes sense. So we're going to continue to zoom in, get a more of a micro level view. And one of the next steps I'd like to do is, first, we can always turn on the zoning just to kind of get an idea what type of zoning that is. All right. And we can also select that parcel and get some parcel level information. But before I go to that next step, I like to always show some of the demographic trends. And this is more of our micro level trend lines to understand this particular area. And the way this simply works, you put your mouse over these little boxes and you'll see that parcel is in census tract 39. So I can turn off 38 and 5302. And we can kind of look at that population trend. We can look at, we can also look at employment population against the United States average. We can look at median gross rent. against the United States average. So a little bit of an incline. And lastly, we can look at median household income, see what that type of trend lines we are seeing there against the United States average. So this could possibly be a good parcel to potentially develop built to rent single family homes. Let's actually select that parcel and kind of get a look at a little bit of the breakdown of the property info. We'll see our legal address, the current use. As we mentioned, it's vacant land. There's your market and land value, some ownership information, and then kind of break down. Let's see as well. So let's see what that lot size is. So we're at 58,000 square feet. So we definitely can make some use of it for a subdivision. And you can see now the uses allowed. And we'll kind of break it. It'll break down those uses allowed. And we'll see that single family detached dwelling is it's zoned for that, like we did in our search. And then we kind of get our setbacks, and there's actually no setbacks. All right, so this could be a good potential parcel to develop on for this built to rent. Now, one of the great features of Deepblocks is your ability to draw parcels within a larger parcel. So just to kind of demonstrate how this works, move my screen over, and I'm kind of quickly at a high level show what we can do at a relatively quick rate. And we're going to just build out some, relatively smaller single family dwellings of that. We're looking at about 760 square feet. And the cool thing about these Draw Parcel Tool, it tells you exactly the size of it right here. Now, my drawing is a little off, but and then you can simply just copy and paste these and just start quickly creating your subdivision. So all you have to do is click it. It'll copy the exact same one, and we can just start to kind of plot out and map and map out this particular subdivision. One thing we are looking to work on is to be able to do this more at a mass level, because I do know there's some build to rent companies out there doing hundreds of units at a time. So we're looking at ways to quickly multiply, and we're actually literally in the process of researching this. That way, if you want to do 50 to 100 units and get a kind of feel or understanding of what would make sense in a particular parcel, you could quickly go through that modeling and draw parcel process much faster. So, but this is one way of doing it. We did add this copy and paste tool, so it does expedite it quite a bit. And not to go too much detail, just want to kind of give you the general idea of how this is set up. You just continue to add these parcels. I'll just do a quick little horseshoe of a community. And I'm actually going to show you another example that is that we developed earlier to kind of so you can see in another setting of sorts. And once you kind of have every parcel drawn out, you simply now we do our assemblage tool. So we're going to pretty much select all these parcels. So we're looking at, I believe there's 6 there, 7, 8, 9. So we have 15 units on this particular piece of land. And now we'll go into our preliminary underwriting, and we go into our 3D modeling and massing the Explorer interface of Deepblocks. We're going to select multifamily. We're just going to do a 1 for FAR. And now our software is computing and designing these 3D models. And now at this juncture, we can start to work on the income side, cost side. We can put some setbacks in as well. But obviously, here's where we start working on that financial return. Again, this is a 1-year back of the envelope return on cost. So one of the first things we could kind of do is we could enter in some setbacks. Now, just again, we can get real specific, and we actually can assign unique setbacks for every single side here. But just for the sake of time, and I will show you again on an example I've already done that where you can literally go in and uniquely identify each side. But just for the sake of time, I'm just going to put in a general number of, say, we'll do just 10 feet. And now there's no setbacks required for this particular parcel, but whoops. Not want to do that. Sorry for that. So probably don't even need to really do any setbacks. You can see by putting the setbacks, it'll change the formation of each unit, but we're just going to leave it at 0 for right now. So we're going to jump over to our adjust assumptions. And right now, as I mentioned, we have 15 units. So we're going to put 15 into here. And we're going to kind of take down the size. We're going to put 0 amenities in. These are supposed to be about 700 square feet. So we'll change that as well. We'll have 0% loss factor. So now we get all 1-story properties essentially. And I'm going to make this actually 733, I believe was the number. So, and now you can see we have our 15 units that are all 1-story. These are going to be, again, I'm just modeling for 2 bedrooms at the moment. We could adjust now our income. This is bringing in a sub-market rate for this particular census tract. But again, we leave everything adjustable if you feel this might, again, we're trying to create some affordable housing. So we might bring this down a little bit. So let's say $1,000 a month, just for the sake of this example. And then we'll go into our project costs. We can now adjust these assumptions, and hopefully we can maybe work out a deal because it isn't an affordable housing project. And we can get a discount on that purchase price at $750. Sorry about that. And again, you'll see to start to work on that ROC. We can maybe make soft cost 10% of our hard costs, contingency maybe 4%, and maybe for the hard costs we can do about $135 per square foot. So again, these, as we start to adjust these numbers, you'll see our ROC begin to increase. And again, this is kind of the whole concept of Deepblocks, is to work on these assumptions, to do everything you can to obviously drive your ROC, but also figure out the potential of this particular parcel, and get a good idea to see does this make sense for what we're trying to develop. And just always remember, anything you adjust here automatically updates in your KPIs. We have our breakdown of the income and cost, and then we see our return on cost here. Then we have a more detailed breakdown of the assumptions from property to building information. This is all calculated and computed. Obviously the software is intuitive, so anything that happens automatically updates as you adjust your assumptions. And then last, we can just export this particular project out to a PDF report, and we can get a nice little 4-pager of this particular project. And as you may or may not know, you can change this to be your logo. We can change the report to show your colors. You can upload your own image for this particular parcel, write your summary for this project, as well as who it's prepared by, who it's prepared for, get some property info, and stack it. Now, just keep in mind, the reason the zoning information is not appearing for this particular, because we drew parcels and I selected those specific parcels. So to get the zoning information for this actual, the larger parcel that everything resides on, we can go back to that same address, select the larger parcel, and kind of incorporate the zoning information based on that larger parcel, and add it into this report. So, but again, the reason we're not seeing the zoning information, as I mentioned, is because I created 15 individual parcels which are residing in that larger parcel. Here's your demographic trends for this particular census tract, as we were looking at earlier. And then lastly, there's your return analysis and your breakdown of assumptions. Another great feature we are about to release is we're going to be able to export this out into a CSV file of this data, and you'll be able to kind of implement that or import that into your Excel calculations or whatever your waterfall calculations may be. But that's just a quick high-level view of how we can, again, search for a site based on specific criteria and look to do development for build-to-rent single-family homes. Now, I kind of want to jump over. We're going to go back to our dashboard, and I want to kind of go through the same process as well as in Detroit, Michigan, because just certain markets I was looking at in certain places where I'm seeing build-to-rent development occur. Obviously, it's a very hot market at the moment. We're seeing a lot of development in Texas. We're seeing it in Florida. There are some things going on in Michigan as well, in some of those states up north. So I just want to show you the power of the software that we can, and this is one of the reasons why Deepblocks is so robust and so powerful, is the fact that we can scale and go through these searches and hit different cities and do it relatively quickly. And again, it's not always about necessarily about the speed too, it's also about the quality. The fact that we can go through these searches and find quality content and, again, cater these searches based on your criteria. Now you'll see now that I'm in Detroit, Michigan, what happens is because we're still in the same viewport and all my criteria for this particular area still appears. I have a lot size minimum of 50,000 to 100,000. Now we're going to search for certain uses allowed for single family. So for Detroit, they have it as single family detached. I don't think there's any other. Nope, that's the only one they show. All right. And let's see, we have 50,000 to 100,000. I don't think they see. Another thing to keep in mind is only certain cities have existing building area sliders, certain areas do not. It just depends on the city and what they offer. We are trying to do everything we can to make that more consistent throughout each city that we are in. But let's actually shrink this down. We're going to do 25,000 to 50,000 just to change it up a little bit and see if any. And we have 3 parcels matching. We have 1 there. We have 2. Let's see. And then sometimes they're hiding underneath these menus a little bit. But there we have at least 2 of the 3, and another one's probably. No, we'll focus on these 3 at the moment. Now, what you can also do if we don't have the existing, sometimes I turn the satellite layer on. It's another way of kind of getting a feel for what may be residing on that particular parcel. So looking at this one, I believe we have an existing building structure there, so this might not make sense. So, and this is kind of how where Deepblocks really helps advance your search. We can just kind of start to move the screen around and continue to look for parcels that match this particular criteria. And you'll start to see more and more results popping up. And as the screen automatically updates, so now we're looking at 5. Again, we can zoom back in to see if these parcels matching me. So this is a parking lot, so this could possibly be a potential off-market deal where we can talk to the owner of this parking lot. Maybe it makes sense, might not. Continue to scan the market some more. We could just continue to look out. Zoom out a bit and see what else pops up. Let's see what we got here. So relatively larger. We got 25,000 square feet. Buildable area is 89,000. FAR 0.7. Residential, one that uses allowed, so we can do single family detached. Perfect. And it looks like this could be a possible parcel for subdivision here in Detroit, Michigan. We'll see our setbacks are 20, 4 to 15 based on contingent on building height and length, and same thing for this side, and lastly 30 feet, again contingent on building use. But again, we could go through the same process as we just did before in Tampa, where, and I'm not going to go through each and every unit again, but again, we can sit there and draw and model out and create this subdivision and subdivide it out, select those parcels that we created, and go through the Explorer interface to model and, again, enter in the assumptions on the income and cost side and see, again, if this particular parcel makes sense for a build to rent development opportunity. And yeah, just to kind of give you a little bit of an example of an assemblage we found back in Tampa, and just kind of show you the final result. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. There's a project share with me, and this was a pretty cool project because the land is currently owned by a church, so it's possible that you can maybe work with the church for some type of deal on the land, and in exchange for that deal, you create some type of affordable housing play or certain type of build to rent single family home strategy that benefits the residents that would be moving into there. But just to kind of give you an idea, what we did here is, you'll see we actually did an assemblage. This was, I believe, about 10 different properties, and what we did is we did an assemblage, and then once we did the assemblage, we created these 15 units all throughout this particular subdivision that we modeled out. And again, similar to, and this I just kind of want to show you what we did here for the setbacks. We got a little more creative. You'll see we uniquely identified the setbacks all throughout each parcel. So if you notice, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, So we have this was one big parcel right here. Then there was a couple individual parcels on this side. And I believe, and that the assemblage, I believe, was about 6 different parcels in total. But then upon entering these setbacks, what that allows you to do, it allows you to create and model each unit to be a specific size. And that's how the layout was created for the subdivision. So essentially we use the setbacks to kind of create this subdivision layout that you're seeing in this particular example. And this is, as I mentioned, in Tampa, but again, just shows you another facet of Deepblocks, where you don't necessarily have to find one parcel. You can, again, find 4, 5, 6, or numerous parcels and do an assemblage and get the total lot size to add up to to meet your criteria. And it allows you then to gives you that ability to kind of model out and see the potential of this particular assemblage. And as you can see, we had about 6.88% return. Now, keep in mind, we did it again off 15 units. We're just using 2 bedrooms as an example for this. 2,500 square feet. We don't have any amenities for this particular subdivision. We have income at 3,200, and we got 130 for $1 per square foot for the hard cost, 10% of that for the soft cost. But we did put a $0 purchase price because of possible land deal with the church, maybe donating the land, again, if in exchange for specific use that we are providing residency to help certain people in demand for housing. So just to give you an idea, and just to kind of recap of what we did today, today was a little more focused about what we're seeing, a very high trend with build to rent development opportunities throughout the country, and using Deepblocks to find specific sites based on that development criteria, quickly going through various markets to identify these parcels, and then upon selecting those parcels, using our Draw Parcel Tool to create a subdivision and give you a good idea of how you can model out a specific subdivision and create these little 3D models, and then go into our Explorer interface to enter in assumptions and on the income and cost side to study and, again, figure out and pretty much perform that feasibility study to see if that particular parcel, or if it's an assemblage, makes sense for your build to rent development project. So again, I really do appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to reach out to me at michael@deepblocks.com. If you want to schedule a one-on-one demo or want to just have some questions to ask, always available. So again, I do appreciate you taking the time. Look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great afternoon. Take care.